Liverpool rocked by shock twists on and off the pitch. Don't miss a second. Subscribe now for instant Reds updates, exclusives, and breaking alerts.
News headline: Liverpool taking incredible Xabi Alonso risk. Liverpool's season has been a mess. They're miles away from where they were last season, and given it's nearly February, it looks unlikely that things will turn around quickly. The Reds have already seen their worst run of form in the league since the 1950s. They've won 5 Premier League fixtures since September, with none in 2026. But it does look as though they'll stick with Arne Slot. It's worth pointing out that really, this poor run of form stretches back a year now. Liverpool were not the same team post-January last season, struggling for consistency in much the same way they are now. David Ornstein, however, is one of those reporting that it would take a dramatically negative turndown in results for Liverpool to act before the summer. It seems like the club are giving him time, even if many supporters aren't, he told Sky Sports. Every time you make checks on this, you're told nothing before the summer. Clearly, the summer, like we see at many clubs, is a time for review, and it'll be fascinating to see which way Liverpool and other teams go at that point. Naturally, if results deteriorate to an alarming degree, I presume the hierarchy at any club, even though they are backing their head coach, will have to think about it. But I think the intention at Liverpool is to back him. And that's particularly interesting because Xabi Alonso is available. Liverpool are set to ignore the Spaniard for now, though, and that's an almighty risk. Alonso is about as easy a hire as Liverpool could find. If Slot were to resign, for instance, there is essentially no question that they'd hire him. He's proven as a title winner, he's built a club up to be a contender, and he's even worked with 2 of the summer signings. Importantly, Alonso got the best out of Florian Wirtz, a player Liverpool are now desperate to get going. On top of it all, there's the fact he's a club legend who actively wants to work for Liverpool. It doesn't get easier than this. But Liverpool are set to ignore the fact he's completely available and stick with Slot until things get absolutely dire. And perhaps they won't slip further. Perhaps Slot will improve the team and get back on track. The club don't know that, however, and Alonso won't wait around forever. Worryingly, there's the temptation of Manchester City lurking in the background for his signature, as Pep Guardiola's future remains uncertain. Lose him to City, and Liverpool may never get another go at Alonso. That's the potential cost of sticking with Slot, that the perfect replacement ends up being your rival. Hopefully, Liverpool get their decision right here, because it feels like an almighty risk.
Jurgen Klopp's 3-word hint as he prepares for return to Liverpool dugout. Liverpool fans are ecstatic about Jurgen Klopp's confirmed return to Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp had already hinted towards an Anfield comeback before Liverpool announced his one-off return to the dugout. The legendary former Reds manager will act as Sir Kenny Dalglish's assistant coach when the Liverpool legends face Klopp's former club Borussia Dortmund in a charity match for the LFC Foundation in March. The fixture will see Steven Gerrard captain the Reds at Anfield, with all proceeds going to the club's official charity. Klopp, who left Liverpool in the summer of 2024, is the foundation's honorary ambassador, with the March 28th fixture marking his highly anticipated return to his former stomping ground. While news of his cameo will no doubt delight Liverpool fans, it will also be a bittersweet moment for many knowing it's just for one game. However, the German, who is now Red Bull's global head of soccer, has previously hinted at a more official and long-term return. When Klopp announced in January 2024 he would be leaving the club at the end of that season, he cited fatigue in terms of keeping up the same intensity after so many years as a top manager as the key reason. Amid rumors concerning Arne Slot's potential departure last year, however, Klopp didn't rule out taking a job at Liverpool in the future. Appearing on the Diary of a CEO podcast, he explained, "I said I will never coach a different team in England, so that means if I did return, then it's Liverpool." Offering a glimmer of hope when asked if he would ever go back, he admitted in 3 words, "Theoretically, it's possible." However, that will likely not be in a managerial capacity. Opening up on his decision to walk away from coaching after nearly 25 years, Klopp previously told Welt, "I don't want it to be a manager anymore. I now have a job that fulfills me and is also intense. I don't sleep longer in the morning and I don't go to bed later in the evening, but I can organize my work much better. My wife, for example, is totally happy with it because we can plan things much better that we couldn't plan before. For me, it was never about not doing anything anymore, but about doing something else. I've coached 1,081 games, and that's not including the friendly matches. If we add those from 23 years, we might come to 1,200. Then the press conferences, the media appointments. I always just reacted.
And in Liverpool, there were also the tasks as manager. That was a lot. It is entirely conceivable the rapturous applause and adoration the 58-year-old is set to receive from the Kop upon his return will reawaken something deep inside and potentially fuel his passion to return to Liverpool in some capacity.
News headline: Jamie Carragher says Liverpool have a real Pep Guardiola problem. It's certainly costing them right now. We're 18 months into the Arne Slot era, and has it been a success? Yes, overwhelmingly so. He won the Premier League after all. But the second season certainly hasn't been as good as the first, a long way off it in fact, as Liverpool have been through their worst period of form since the 1950s. And even outside of that, they're struggling badly. 5 wins in the Premier League since September, 0 since December 27th, and if it weren't for a series of late winners to kick off the campaign, Liverpool would be some way off the race for UEFA Champions League football. So what's changed? Everyone has an opinion on that, especially after Liverpool overhauled their squad in the summer. But Jamie Carragher feels there may be something else at play here, something a little too Pep Guardiola. From Jurgen Klopp to Pep Guardiola. Carragher spoke to The Athletic about Liverpool's current situation, and he feels that the club may have stepped away from what made them successful. Jurgen Klopp and Guardiola are at the heart of that switch. There's no doubt Arne Slot's hero in management is Pep Guardiola. He raves about him. The lovely balance between Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola football was what we saw last season in Liverpool winning the title. Now it looks like it's gone too far the other way. In some ways, it reminds me a little bit of Roberto Martinez going to Everton. In his first season, he sprinkled a little bit of Roberto Martinez stardust onto a David Moyes team, which was very solid and powerful. Then the next season, we saw a little more, and they came away from that lovely mix. They just fell away from where they wanted to be, and it looks like that's also happening at Liverpool. There certainly is something to that. Liverpool aren't as aggressive as they were under Klopp, at least not in their mentality. And no one can deny that the balance of last season was what won the league. Slot came in and injected some new ideas into the squad, reaping the rewards over the first half of his debut campaign. But the further we've gotten since the Klopp era, the worse this team has looked. That started last season and has continued into this one, and that's a bigger problem. Because Liverpool did hire Slot to play the way he wants to. They didn't hire him to be a blend of his own ideas and Klopp's. They even set about building him a squad this summer for his style of play. Now, whether they successfully did that is another matter, but there's no doubt that things have moved in the wrong direction. Perhaps that's because the style doesn't work, or perhaps it's because Liverpool are in a strange limbo where Slot is trying to change towards his own ideas but lacks the players to do so. Either way, finding some sort of balance is vital, and the club is currently failing to make it work.
Didi Hamann named signing Liverpool should make better than Jude Bellingham. Liverpool will need to reshape its squad again in the summer, with Arne Slot needing reinforcements in pretty much every department to bolster his ranks and strengthen his hand. Didi Hamann says Liverpool should sign someone like Newcastle United captain Bruno Guimaraes to beef up its midfield, claiming the Brazilian would be an even better addition than Real Madrid's Jude Bellingham. While Liverpool won 6-0 against Carragher in the Champions League this midweek, Arne Slot's side has struggled to compete in the Premier League on a regular basis, where it has arguably been left behind in terms of physicality. Bruno Guimaraes would be better than Bellingham for Liverpool, Hamann said. It wouldn't even be a question for me because he is a battler, a fighter, a warrior. I think that's what Liverpool need. Ryan Gravenberch did so well last season but can't do it all on his own. Alexis McAllister is in and out. He doesn't really do enough going backwards. He does enough going forwards. He's a good player to have around, but I think Newcastle have got a player who can do it all in Bruno Guimaraes. He leads from the front. Hamann instead tipped Manchester United to be a good move for Bellingham, even though there is no suggestion that the former Birmingham City wonder kid would be looking to leave the Bernabeu. I've never been the biggest fan of Bellingham, the German pundit, speaking to Casino Beats, continued. I think he's an exceptional player. Some of his antics I've never really been keen on, but I think what it does bring to a club, I think the signing of Bellingham can galvanize a club. Yeah, it gives punters hope. It gives everybody hope. It probably brings more out of the other players because they look around and think, we've got Bellingham here now. We've got to put our foot down. There's only one club really I could think of, but then again, it might be the perfect fit, and that's Manchester United, because they need a player like that now. They have Mateus Cunha, they have Benjamin Sesko. These are good players, but they're not the names that United fans are used to from the past, like Ruud van Nistelrooy, Roy Keane, Ryan Giggs, David Beckham, or Eric Cantona. Liverpool.com says the Reds will come up against Newcastle this weekend, and their physicality levels will be tested once more. The likes of Gravenberch and McAllister will need to stand up and be counted if Liverpool is to win the game. Guimaraes was an unused substitute as Newcastle drew 1-1 with PSG on Wednesday. The former Lyon man has only just returned from injury and is an important member of the team.
Liverpool given bombshell Mo Salah exit update with Slot sack interlinked to Egyptian's future. Liverpool have been told they could only persuade Mohamed Salah to stick around for another season at Anfield beyond this one if they decide to sack Arne Slot, while a former Red Star has weighed up whether the Egyptian's actions this term will tarnish his legendary status at Anfield. Salah has proved to be one of the greatest players in Premier League history, scoring an incredible 251 goals across his 424 appearances for the club so far, having won 8 major honors and, while contributing another 118 assists in those games, the Egyptian's place in Liverpool folklore is assured. But with his deal on Merseyside due to expire in summer 2027, and with the player earlier this season falling out with manager Arne Slot after he was axed from the side for 3 straight games, resulting in a very public thrown-me-under-the-bus tantrum, speculation that his time at Anfield could be coming to a close has been ramped up. And while the two men have since made things up and Salah has been restored to the side, there is still a strong belief that this summer will finally see a parting of ways after 9 largely glorious years with the club. While former Red Star Danny Murphy thinks the endgame for Salah is in sight, he did suggest in an interview with best betting sites that he could yet remain, though only if Slot departed as manager first. I think so, yeah, he will leave this summer. I know he's contracted longer, but with what's gone on, how the team's performed and how he's performed, I think it would surprise most people if he stayed for another year. The only caveat would be if a new manager came in and really wanted to build a team around him, try to get one more year out of him and have that conversation. I don't know Mo Salah personally, but maybe he'd be given a new impetus, a new lease of life with a different manager. It seems that although he's played since he came back from AF Con, things maybe aren't the same as before. We don't think there's been an apology, we haven't heard of that, but they've got on with it for the good of the club. Inevitably, as you get older, you probably struggle, like most of us did, to come to terms with the fact that you're not necessarily as important, that you don't play every game and every minute, no matter what you've done before, even though what he's done before is phenomenal. I think it would be a surprise if he's still wearing a Liverpool shirt at the beginning of next season. Mo Salah, have selfish actions tarnished his Liverpool legacy? The question was also put to Murphy if Salah has stained his legacy at Anfield by speaking out so publicly against the club, and whether Steven Gerrard's place as the club's greatest ever player remains untouched as a result. Giving an honest answer, Murphy continued, I think Stevie will always be thought of more fondly, mainly because he's one of their own, a Scouser through and through, and he dragged the team through a very difficult period more or less on his own, whereas Salah did have the help of Sadio Mane, Firmino, and others during that successful period. I don't think this particular outburst, or some of his selfishness over the last year or 18 months in interviews, and the way he's acted at times, whether that's on the bench or coming off, will damage his legacy. I still think he'll be thought of very highly. He'll still be loved and adored by millions of Liverpool fans across the planet because of what he's contributed over a long period of time. And you're not always appreciated as much until you've left. Murphy continued, the biggest compliment you can pay Mo Salah is that when you talk about the greatest ever Liverpool teams, and you're talking about some phenomenal players over the decades, he's in the conversation. The fact that he's in that conversation puts him in a very elite group of players who are adored and who've contributed massively to Liverpool's success during their period. So I don't think his legacy will be tarnished by anything he's done. But in terms of the comparison with Stevie, you're talking about a Scouser captain at his club, playing there his whole career and dragging Liverpool through so many moments to get silverware, to create memories and history for the club, which Mo hasn't quite achieved in the same way in the biggest finals. Meanwhile, despite reportedly contacting Xabi Alonso, Liverpool have no intention of sacking Arne Slot, with a top Reds reporter detailing 4 convincing reasons why the Dutchman looks to be here to stay. In other news, Liverpool are looking into a sensational centre-back hijack amid claims the player is waiting for a call from the Reds, though the cost of doing business could make Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards wince. Elsewhere, a transfer insider has revealed what Liverpool planned to do with Virgil van Dijk in the summer, after the Dutchman began to show signs of decline during the current campaign.
And finally, Tottenham have been told they still have a significant chance of securing the signing of Andy Robertson this month. Amid strong claims, the star remains keen to quit Liverpool with immediate effect.
News headline: Report rival is ready to force Liverpool into deadline day offer. Liverpool are set to be forced into a deadline day offer. A rival is about to show their hand. Liverpool are yet to move in the January transfer window, and that's despite some serious injury concerns. The Reds actually only have 3 available senior defenders at the time of writing, and 2 of those are left-backs. But Liverpool did know this was coming, to an extent anyway. Giovanni Leone has been out for months, Connor Bradley for weeks, and Joe Gomez has battled injury problems for a long time. Now Jeremy Frimpong is out too. It creates an incredibly difficult situation where a few players need to cover several positions for the most intense period of the campaign. Liverpool, though, aren't moving for anyone unless it's the right player. They appear to have that player in mind, too, in Rennes' Jeremy Jacquet. Chelsea to force Jeremy Jacquet offers. Chelsea also want to sign Jacquet, says Romano, and he's far from the only one saying that. The Telegraph have a particularly interesting line where they claim the Blues have not given up on convincing Rennes to sell this month. A deal is currently being worked on, and that's something that will force Liverpool into an offer of their own. The suggestion from Romano is that the Reds do have the money available, and that the only thing stopping them from pushing forward on a deal is Rennes. But Chelsea don't appear to see that as the same obstacle. They will try to force this, and force Liverpool into an offer in the process. After all, Liverpool can't wait for the summer if Chelsea manage to agree a deal now. They're prepared to make things happen right now, which gives Richard Hughes and co. a decision to make. It sounds as though Jacquet is the one Liverpool want. It seems Chelsea are ready to make them prove that.
Report: Richard Hughes wants essential star to join Liverpool. Liverpool have been through a lot over the course of the 2025-26 season. Richard Hughes and Arne Slot chose to spend around $450 million on new players, with most of their additions coming in attack. Players such as Alexander Isak and Florian Wirtz were welcome through the Anfield doors, and even though most fans thought that Liverpool's team would be one of the best in the world, that's not how things have panned out. And now it seems like Hughes and Slot both believe this, with the former of the two now looking to add another rather impressive attacker to their ranks. Liverpool appreciate Morgan Rogers as transfer rumors re-emerge. A new report from journalist Ben Jacobs shared that Morgan Rogers is still appreciated by Liverpool, with the Englishman recently having a decent run of form for Aston Villa. Although the attacking midfielder may not be the exact sort of profile that the Reds need at the moment due to the importance of Dominik Szoboszlai and Wirtz, it's hard to ignore the fact that he would be an exceptional signing. He's one of Unai Emery's most important players at the moment, and the fact that he's already contributed to 15 goals across all competitions this season proves how essential he could become to Liverpool. Indeed, Isak is going to return from injury soon, which means that there's likely to be even more competition for Liverpool's attack soon. But with the recent form that Mohamed Salah and Cody Gakpo have been in, it's unclear whether the Reds will look to change things in the near future. There's still a couple of days left in the transfer window for moves to occur, but with the Reds' lack of movement in the market for a new defender, a summer transfer for Rogers feels more likely at the moment. Morgan Rogers could turn Liverpool's fortunes around instantly. As mentioned, even though Liverpool's attack is fairly stacked, it's clear that improvements can still be made. Players such as Federico Chiesa and Rion Gumoha rarely get a look in, which means that they're likely to be moved on at some point. Of course, in Gumoha's case, it'll be a loan, but for Chiesa, it's felt like his time at Anfield has been coming to an end for the last year or so. Rogers has played across the front three throughout the entirety of his career, and although most of his time has been spent on the left wing, he's often been equally as effective when used as a number 9 or a right winger. This versatility is exactly what Liverpool need from their players, especially since Slot seemingly likes to keep his squad size low. These transfer rumors are likely to continue for the rest of the season, but if a move for Rogers is actually on the cards, it's something that Liverpool should really consider.